Hey guys, this is going to be a demonstration of an audio mixer that I'm doing for analog electronics with Professor Harish. So this is the overall system itself. So to start off, in the first stage, we have our two inputs. From here, the input from a surface and the input from this computer for just instrumental beats is going to a cap, then a pot, then a resistor. That cap and that resistor that goes to ground right before the positive pin on the TL082 op amp creates a high pass filter at 10 Hertz. Then you use the 100K on the negative feedback loop to get rid of biasing currents, and then the output is V01 and V02 as demonstrated in here. So this is the system. There's the two caps that go to the pots. Both of the pots. Last leg goes to ground on both sides. And then the middle goes up, gets jumped up into the TL082. There's two op amps on each side. So we have the resistor, the negative feedback is up there on pins 1 through 2. And the other one is on 7 and 6. So the blue is the jumper back from the resistor. The orange is on the left hand side is the output from the first op amp, and the orange on the right hand side is the output from the second op amp that goes over to the next stage of the system, which is mixing, which we can see here. This is a basic overview of what the mixing side of the system looks like. So we have input V01 and V02 from the last diagram into a 1 meg potentiometer, then two 10Ks, and then a 1 meg that goes to ground before it goes into the positive side. This is a summing or adder amplifier that is taking both of the signals and mixing them together into a single output, which would be V03. And then we have a 1 meg on the negative feedback loop to get rid of any biasing currents from the output. So we can see that over here. The input left hand side is V01 into a 1 meg pot, then the 10K, then the 1 meg that goes to ground is right there in the bottom right hand corner, and the other pot for the other input, the 10K, then that gets fed to the TL082, just one side of this IC this time. And then the jumper right there, that blue jumper is for the 1 meg that is being used for the negative feedback loop, and the brown wire that pops over the top of the IC is the output, which would be V03. Now stage 3, we do not have an LM386N, which is the op amp that we're using, so I'm using an LM3875TF just for demonstration purposes. So that would be the input to a 10K pot into the positive pin, negative goes to ground, 1 pin goes to positive, the other pin goes to ground, and then the last pin is the output, which goes through a 0.1 microfarad and a 10 ohm to ground, and then a 220 microfarad through a 10 ohm resistor, which is being noted as the speaker for the system. And we can also see a wiring diagram of the system seen here. So VN goes to a 10K into the positive. No, the pin 2 and pin 4 go to ground. 6 is a positive 5 to 6 volt input, in this case 5 volts. Pin 5 goes out to the output, out to the speaker, which we use the 10 ohm resistor to note in the simulation. This is the LM386N op amp. We have the 10K pot right there, which is going into the input. 2 and 4 have been jumped together, which is then going to ground. The input is at pin 3, and then over here, pin 5, you have the 0.1 microfarad, since we do not have a 0.05 microfarad, then to a 10 ohm resistor to ground. And then a 220 microfarad instead of a 250 microfarad is being branched over here, and then that is the speaker wire to our little 8 ohm speaker that we're using. Now we also had to use this 220 microfarad cap right here between the positive red terminal all the way down, which is that red jumper, and that green jumper to ground, which is shunting our power supply because of our peak currents through all the op amps and systems. Then we have obviously our input to the entire system. So now I'm going to try to demonstrate to the best of my ability what is actually happening with the system. So coming back to this, I'm just going to use a drum beat only from the right input and electric guitar solo on the left input. That way we have just two basic instruments for the inputs. I'm going to go ahead and play both of them at the same time. So you're probably going to hear both of them mixing a little bit for a sec. But what these pots are doing in the beginning, I'm going to go ahead and move these back to here. So this pot is going to be controlling the electric guitar solo. If I open it all the way up, you'll start hearing the electric guitar solo coming through, and that's from the speaker. And that is allowing the voltage from the entire system, from this 1/4 inch to breadboard adapter, allow the system, the song to come through. And over here in the mixer section, we have this one, which is fully open for the electric guitar solo, and as I kind of reduce it, it kind of disappears into the background. And then this 10K is basically a volume knob for the entire system, reducing or increasing the peak-to-peak input from the mixing channel, which is the second channel, which is up here. So now I'm going to add the drums to the system, and you'll start hearing just the drums now. So now we have just the drums, and this pot is opened all the way up, and I can start closing it and it'll kind of disappear into the background. And so now if I open both of these up, you should hear the guitar and the drum trying to mix together. So you hear like a light guitar solo in the background as well as drums coming through. And then this pot right here controls the overall volume of that. So I'm gonna go back real quick. It actually skipped the rest of my video, so let me go back. Okay, so here it is for the rest of the system. Getting some guitar and some drum through. So going counterclockwise, it reduces the audio. Going clockwise, it increases the audio. Alright, thank you.